of Universal Horror Nights. I've been there countless times in both Florida and California. And we have the geniuses behind Universal Horror Nights with us today. They're going to give you a preview of what's in store this Halloween. Let's give it up for John Murray and Chris Williams. Universal Horror Nights. Halloween Horror Nights, yeah.
Good afternoon, Pasadena. Oh, you sit over here, yeah. I'm sorry, I bought something for my kids. I gotta move it.
Good dad.
Matching baby scorpion necklaces, and one says best and the other says friend.
Good dad.
Something every 3-year-old should have. Hi, I'm John Murdy. I'm creative director, executive producer of Halloween Horror Nights.
I'm Chris Williams, production designer, art director of Halloween Horror Nights. Yeah! Thank you for coming today. Thank you for a great 2017. Thank you for all your guys' support. Thank you for you today. We appreciate it. We have a great 2018 coming up, as you guys will see today.
And speaking of 2018, some of you guys might know we recently made an announcement. You aware of what I'm talking about? If you are not aware, take a look at your screens. So, how many of you guys are fans of Stranger Things? So are we. You know, in all honesty, I think Stranger Things is the best thing I've seen on television in a very, very long time. You know, being a child of the 80s, I graduated high school in 1985, graduated college 89. The show so perfectly nails that time period. But on top of it, it's also scary as hell, and Chris and I are thrilled to be bringing Stranger Things to Halloween Horror Nights. It's something we've been working on for about a year, talking to Netflix. As we get closer to the event, we're going to be revealing more information about Stranger Things, but I will tell you where it's going to be located, because I haven't told anybody yet, and it's really exciting because this is a maze we get to build in a soundstage.
Every situation is going to be completely awesome, actually. You know, when this show first came out, I had just so many people come to me and say, hey, there's this new show. You got to check it out. But at the same time, they would say, like, you know, I don't know if it's something for Halloween Horror Nights. But when I watched it, and you know, when I started watching it, then it was a complete binge watch to watch the rest of it because it's so good. I thought, yes, this should be part of our event. And so you see what's happened now.
So this particular maze is going to be built in a former shooting soundstage. It's called Soundstage 29. It's on the front lot of Universal Studios, so when you come to Halloween Horror Nights 2018, you're going to get to experience Stranger Things inside Stage 29. So as we get closer to the event, we're going to be talking more about Stranger Things, but today we've got a different topic we're talking about. We're talking about scare zones, the art of scare zones. Wants to know, is there going to be a scare zone in Halloween Horror Nights 2018 with a Z in it, or a Z at the end of it? And, you know, I asked Pat, and Pat's going to join us up on stage here. I'll introduce Pat in a second. I asked Pat, how many times have I named a scare zone with a Z at the end of it? This is the answer. Freaks, 2009, 2010, 2011. Clowns, 2010, 2011, 2012. Lunatics, pigs, nightmares, witches, toys, Cirque du Clowns, scarecrows, skulls, corpse, exterminators. There is a reason why we do this. Well, there was a reason in the beginning. That reason has changed over time. Why originally, every time you do something and you use a name, you have to trademark search it, right? Every name we use, any scare zone we come up with, we have to make sure that that name is available and we can use it. We have to do what's called a title search. And it's this big, long, involved process. So it's much easier to get it approved and go through the system if you spell it differently. So I started in the beginning just putting a Z at the end of words. I figured, well, gosh, people have used clowns. That's going to certainly be trademarked somewhere, or, you know, things like freaks, or, you know. So we would change the letter, and it would always get approved. But then I noticed it really pissed off people on Twitter. And every year we'd announce, I think it started in 2010, where like every name had a Z at the end of it, and people would get really angry. So I just started doing it for the hell of it after that, you know, just pretty much just to make people angry. So I decided to make people angry again this year. So Pat, why don't you come up on stage? I'm going to introduce a long-time colleague of Chris and I's. This is Pat Quinn. Pat, your mic, and then I'll hand it off to you guys. Patrick, have Chris hand you mic so you can chat with us. And,
Thank you.
you guys sit, I'm going to stand. Because I just traveled 48 hours to get here from Ireland. I was on a bus for 4 hours. I was on a plane for 10 hours. I need to walk. First of all, Pat, I think you're the only person that I've worked with who actually has been at Universal longer than me.
Yeah,
When did you start?
I started in 1980. I've been at Universal for 37 years. Wow.
Give it up for that. That is absolutely dedication. And I believe you were Captain Apollo.
I was Captain Apollo, but more importantly, I was Woody Woodpecker.
So if you have old pictures from back then, you might have taken pictures of Pat. But over the years, what Chris and I really noticed about Pat working with him on Horror Nights is he just thought differently. So what we always would say, Pat thinks differently than us. So as we started to go along, you know, originally Chris and I just did everything ourselves, but we brought Pat into the fold really quickly. And I don't know what year did you kind of start really focusing on scare zones as far as the characters and everything?
Well, I was doing the math because I've actually been doing Halloween in a weird way longer than these guys, because we did Halloween a few attempts back in like the 90s that never really worked out, and I was a performer in those. And then when we brought it back in 06, we used to have a show called The Carnival of Carnage, which was a freak show, and I was like the producer of that. But once we got rid of the show, that's when I went into Scare Zone. So I think I started doing the decor in 2008, and then around 2010 started doing the design part.
Oh, so the Z's are your fault.
I take the fifth.
So Pat, especially in recent years, Urban Inferno, Pat's idea. Halloween, Pat's idea. Pretty much all, if you liked our scare zones in recent years, or at least since 2008, if you liked them, then you have this man to thank for that, and we wanted to acknowledge the years of hard work that Pat has put into this.
Yeah, most of that stuff is really coming out of Pat's brain, all this diversity that we're talking about, originality, you know, that's where we get to shine. Pat has really helped us shine. We wanted to really show Pat off. You know, John and I just salt and pepper this kind of stuff, but like I said, you know, a lot of this main thoughts and such come from Pat. I used to be Pat's like direct boss, you know, and he does think differently. We used to give him certain problems to help solve because we knew what would come out at the end would be differently than what I would think about, or others in the room as well. So Pat's a huge valuable aspect to us and a big part of Halloween Horror Nights. We greatly appreciate him and what he contributes. So we wanted to drag him up here and
make him explain his work, because
yes.
We're about to show you a scare zone from Halloween Horror Nights 2018. And yeah, why not? And he always comes and he pitches us all these ideas, and this one I immediately said yes. let's do this because it's called Holidays in Hell. And that's the character lineup. Do you mind just explaining the basic premise behind this? Go ahead.
Well, basically, the first year we did Dark Christmas, I had this idea, and it was sort of like, gee, if I ever had a chance to do a maze, what would I do? And it was the Holidays in Hell, where I could basically, every holiday, do some sort of character. And we didn't have an opportunity on the streets for those couple of years, but now that I'm doing the metro area where I did Urban Hell last year, it's perfect for this concept. And so we've got some other cool ones, but this is definitely the one that really we're excited about. It's one of those no-brainers. You know this is going to be cool. It's going to be fun. So
it actually goes chronologically, right? It starts off with New Year's, right?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, you're going to walk in and it's going to be a bunch of little dead baby type, like the beginning of the year, little baby New Year's for 2018 with a big giant clock, and you're going to go through and then eventually go through the entire calendar year. And then at the end, it'll be Father Time, the old man of 2018, so we're going to take you through the characters individually. It starts off after you've gone through the baby New Year section. We come to Cupid. So, it's just like, how do you do something different? You can't do Cupid as a little tiny cherub running around, so you go the complete opposite direction. And it's, Cupid is, my inspiration was Danny DeVito in Taxi, the TV show. That's where I got this idea from. It's like, the slob and the whole 9 yards, so. Once you get that one little idea, that's when you can really run with it.
And all the characters that he's victimized, they're all missing their hearts. Their hearts have been ripped out of their bodies.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of fun scenic, bodies impaled with all the arrows of Cupid and that sort of thing. And again, Leprechaun, there's a show that we go to every
Notice
year.
my spelling, by the way. Sorry, I live in Ireland now, and there is no such thing as St. Paddy's Day. It's St. Paddy's Day with 2 D's.
I'll use that.
Yeah, just an important historical fact.
There is this show that we go to in St. Louis called Transworld, and it's like this gigantic Halloween convention for anything you can think of. If you want to put on a haunted house, you go to this show and it's all there. Not just costumes, masks, but every fog juice you could think of, and lighting, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a lot of Leprechaun masks. So my whole thing was I took pictures of every Leprechaun mask there, some awesome ones, some not so great ones, and I said, okay, what can we do that doesn't look like these? What little twist can we do? And so hopefully this guy is going to look as cool as he does in the art, because I think this could be pretty neat too.
I'm personally afraid of him. And then the Easter Bunny.
Easter Bunny, and again, the idea was like, we've already done the Bad Bunny, which is basically a guy in an Easter Bunny suit. Well, why don't we do the real Easter Bunny? So it's going to be as if the Easter Bunny came out of the grave. And you can't really tell in the art, but he's actually got a half-exposed rabbit skull, which would be kind of fun.
I like that he has little bunny slippers, though. That's a nice touch.
And again, that's one of those things where we didn't know what to do for feet, because it's not a guy in a suit. We can't give him boots or shoes. So the inspiration, what else? Bunny slippers.
And then we come to Cinco de Mayo.
And again, it's just sort of like, trying to do something that's cool without being, stupid about it, and a cool thing. So the ballet folklore, I think is the way to say it, is the characters, the next one, the dancers, so it's going to be that sort of look. And the scenic we're going to do is going to be pretty cool. It's going to be the Lotteria cards all done.
It's kind of visually kind of a return to La Llorona a bit.
A little bit.
4th of July.
4th of July, again, we'd already done an Uncle Sam, so we tried to find a different twist, and we basically ripped our own gag off, so it's going to be a half-exposed human skull and then a half Uncle Sam, so that's another one I think will be pretty cool once we get to a sculpt.
Then we come into Halloween.
And again, kind of taking the idea we did last year, but in this one, it's going to be as if a bucket of blood had just got dumped on this character, and the sheet is clinging to his face, and it's a skull underneath, so I think that'll look really cool.
And then along with Halloween, we're doing a Dia de Muertos, Day of the Dead.
And this one's going to be all UV, that's why we just put the glow in just for the effect, but it'll be a hand-painted costume with masks that'll all glow, and there'll be a couple of those guys with a UV scenic. I think that'll be pretty neat. And a personal favorite.
I love it. I think this is my favorite.
So,
What exactly happened during this particular Thanksgiving that caused such an abomination to walk the earth?
the thing that's funny about this one is the way it works for when I do a character is I come up with ideas and I'll Google search images and put together sort of like a little package, and then I'll work with Lucas. We're like partners on these creations. And I'll bring him all these ideas and he'll do a black and white sketch, and then we'll kind of like tweak it and add things. So for this one, we were having some difficulties really coming up with something that didn't look silly. You know, it's a big turkey. I mean, the potential for silliness is high there. So I did one of those things that when I do Google searches for images, I have to be careful because sometimes the things that I search for will take me into places I don't want to go to, and I probably shouldn't be going to work. And Googling skinned turkey head is one of those. But that's how I got the image to give to Lucas, and that's how we got this guy.
So like we said earlier, Pat thinks quite differently than us.
I was getting ready to get on a plane when this email came through. I was at the airport and I was like, huh, I like it. And then we get into Christmas.
Christmas, another elf, you know, again, we tried to find a way of making this one a little different. So instead of this your leering elf, this one is this sort of strange mask that's got these weird goofy eyes. And just again, just trying to be a little different from what we had already done.
And this is another one of those departure characters that I particularly like, Mrs. Claus.
Yeah, we thought, let's not do Santa. We've done Santa, everybody does Santa. Let's do Mrs. Claus. Let's represent equally and let her be in charge. So that's another one that we had a lot of fun designing and finding reference images for.
I like that her weapon is a rolling pin. And we're bringing back Krampus, but different.
Yeah, this is our rock and roll Krampus. It's funny, when we did Dark Christmas in 2014, and I was saying, hey guys, Krampus, and you know, kind of knew about it, but the only reason I knew about it is I had a really cool book of old postcards I bought at Wacko in Hollywood. And I'm like, oh, this could be really cool, but finding reference images was tough, and finding anything like off the shelf was impossible. It was just, it wasn't out there. So we're doing it this year, and it's completely different. Everybody and their mother's got a Krampus mask. They're everywhere, and it was like, how do I do this that doesn't look like something that everybody's seen? So we tried to like, okay, let's make it like, you know, if Krampus was the lead singer for Judas Priest, what would he look like? Hence.
That's right.
And last but not least, we have Father Time as a still walker.
And this one I just wanted to call out, but the process is great, because we finished this drawing Friday, 2 days ago. And Lucas actually did a little extra work for me and did the color Saturday morning, because we wanted to have it ready to show you guys. But like literally Friday afternoon, Lucas and I were like scrambling, trying to make this work, and we had the rendering, but it was basically just Father Time on stilts, and it wasn't scary, it wasn't really that cool. Like, what can we do that's different? So I run in, and Chris and Christine Wright, who's our costume designer, who I think is also here and is another one of our partners, they were having a meeting. I'm like, hey, what do you think? And Chris is like, well, make his beard longer, that'll be cool. Right, I'll do that. And I'll go back. And then Lucas is like, well, let's give him wings. Why not? And I said, well, let's give him horns. Why not? And then suddenly we have a kind of a cool Father Time. It's not just, you know, just trying to be a little different.
And that is Holidays in Hell. So that's you know, the other thing I think, you know, you would be remiss. I always move to a chair that doesn't have the flip thing, and then I'm doing this. Talking about the, you know, characters and scare zone design, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about our performers. Because if there's one thing I think I've learned in the going on 13 years of doing Horror Nights with you guys, is a good performer is worth their weight in gold. And when you think about it, you know, all this work that we all do, it's all just set dressing if the performers don't bring it to life. And we are so very blessed. All these years working at Horror Nights, we've gotten to work with so many talented, passionate, incredibly energetic performers who bring these characters to life. And a lot of times the characters that, when I look back on all these years of doing it, the ones that I like the best are because a performer brought it to life a certain way. So I want to say thank you to all of our performers who've ever worked for us for Halloween Horror Nights, because they are amazing.
I gotta throw something out real quick.
Yeah, go.
You know, Pat had mentioned our head costumer for Halloween Horror Nights, Chris Wright. Is she here? Is Chris here?
I see a hand pointing.
Yeah,
there she is.
there she is.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank costumes and such that you have seen, most of that stuff that, you know, when you looked at those designs, like look at the last Krampus, Rock and Roll Krampus. That's not off the shelf. We're not buying something and just...
I have that in my closet.
Well, then we're set for that costume. But some of those other costumes are all custom. And they're creating patterns, showing Pat, myself, John, all textures of fabrics and such that, you know, that will last for 30 days. As
you can launder in a
get our
washing machine.
specific looks, you know. And honestly, our costume team is a great team, and they work incredibly hard. There's probably 30 stitchers that are fabricating custom costumes for us, and you know, I just want to give a big shout out to them. They are huge in what they do. You know, they're locked away in our scare base with all these, you know, thousands of costumes and such, but you know, they're some of our closest people that we work with to help all this come to life for all you guys, actually. So thank you, Chris and team.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things I learned, I think the first year that I did Horror Nights, and I came in and I started working with Chris and Pat and all of the people that have been on our team that long, is, you know, if you surround yourself with really talented people and you give them the room to do what they do best, and you don't try to micromanage every single thing they do, but you let them bring their passion and their talent to the table, it makes for a much, much better event and a much, much better product. We're also really lucky that we get to work with so many talented people at Universal, not only all the people that work with us at Universal Studios Hollywood, but all of the vendors, you know, our makeup vendor, Pat McGee Effects, who's here today, and if you get a chance, go check out Pat's stuff. He's got a lot of pieces from Horror Nights here you can check out today, but he and his entire team are, you know, so talented. Diablo Audio, who does audio, Radiance, who does lighting. It's amazing to get to work with so many talented people that bring this event to life, and they all deserve an enormous amount of credit. So thank you.
Yes.
But most importantly of all, are all of you. Because the other thing I know after doing this for 13 years is if we didn't have such dedicated, passionate fans that come and support our event year after year after year, Chris and I wouldn't have a job, Pat wouldn't have a job, we'd be making haunted houses back in our,
Thank you.
yeah, in our parents' garage like we started. So thank you guys. I'll get down and say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all of the support. It means the world to us. And to pay you back, hopefully Chris remembered to bring the certificate. He did, excellent. And hope we don't do like a La La Land thing here. That would be really bad. All right, I have the certificate. What we're going to do is we're going to pay it back. I'm going to ask a trivia question. I'm going to kind of look for the first hand I see go up after I ask this question. I'm going to call on you, so don't shout the answer out or I'll tear that into tiny pieces and you'll all go home unhappy.
I've done that before.
I have done it. I'm going to call on that person. If they get the answer right, what they're going to win is front-of-line tickets to come see Halloween Horror Nights 2018 and an exclusive behind-the-scenes maze tour with the creators of Halloween Horror Nights. So that's what's at stake right now. Okay. This question has nothing to do with scare zones. And here it is. Name the Academy Award nominated actor who secretly played Jack Torrance in The Shining Maze at HHN 2018, and right down in the front, I saw you first. Who was Jack?
Yep, James Franco.
James Franco. Absolutely right. Come on up. Oh my God, I know you. Wow, well, I'll be seeing you, sir, at Halloween Horror Nights 2018. From all of us, thank you guys so much for supporting Halloween Horror Nights. We appreciate it. We've got a heck of a lineup coming up this year. We've already announced Stranger Things. In a matter of weeks, hopefully, we'll be announcing the next one. So stay tuned, follow us at Horror Nights. And if you want to see us, we'll be out there in between the building of the theater and the convention hall. We'll say hi. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it.